occasionally, a first book comes along that takes my head off. In this particular case, it took everyone's head off. LaTasha N. Nevada Diggs' TwERK, published by the fantastic feminist literary collective Belladonna, has been named in countless roundups as one of the best poetry volumes of 2013, including at the Boston Globe and the Huffington Post. And it continues nearly a year into its print run to be a bestseller at small press distribution, which is astonishing. The poet Terrence Hayes calls this book a dope jam of dictions, a remixed, multicultural, polyphonic dance of vocabularies, a language of high-stakes hijinks and hybridity. The critic Joy L. McSweeney wrote, "It's like an almanac, zodiac, aphrodisiac, come emetic. It's going to make the language come out of you, and the knowledge, too." The MacArthur genius jazz musician Vijay Iyer says, "To read these works is to feel the world in mid-transformation." Boy, do they have it all right. In my view, TwERK is that rare volume of poetry that is a real adventure, a multilingual, unendingly sonic seduction, sexy and smart in equal measure. I'm guessing its strengths come from its author's journey in the arts. As a writer, she's published poetry chapbooks and work in journals from Plowshares to the Black Scholar. As a musician, she's worked with folks from Vernon Reid to Elliott Sharp to Ryuichi Sakamoto. As an organizer, she's directed events at spaces like Symphony Space and at El Museo del Barrio, and she's published a literary magazine together with the writer Greg Tate. This is a lot for one artist to do, a lot of range to cover. But I think the secret to why was addressed in the introduction to the interview posted on the Walker channel that the local writer Shannon Gibney conducted. Shannon says that Diggs calls herself a writer, vocalist, and sound artist, but what she really is an intercultural mestiza, at once an interloper and a translator, an authentic and an inauthentic voice of the other, occupying a space that most would recognize as peripheral, but is actually movement itself. We're about to experience that motion and emotion. Please welcome LaTasha N. Nevada Diggs.
Howdy. So I'm going to start and talk later. Vroom. 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 Border universe. Nyonka Shutararani Nyonka cani ñoña capac de una sueño Iñoncanchis tianchis chichacanuampi hatunt aquí Kunan ¿por qué ñonca la luna? Ormanki pantampa con mi raju avalancha oicha mi putiauro personalmente yauranich iñi yaukakuna auspa kankuna sutiyan kinchis ika kunan nian Waironko pakunan. ¿Por qué? Anchango una tumak sumak, kankuna, chao chichichis, chao chukuna, macho fina, nyonka yapani sisikunan urpa, wirasapa, imanka punka yoya. Kepa horno, anta thaka kachi, icha, nyonkanchis, kankanchis, sisikunant, enkarinchis, anta patverat. Ikasi, wasyi, gan kuya payanki para urbe kunan. Icha, nyonka, ormani, pantampa o chuchuni a una thakarohia. Icha, un remedio naupa. I lie. I am a noble liar from a dream. And we live in a large, dry labyrinth. Right now, because of me, the moon falls over the edge. With my husky avalanche, or perhaps my pointed, sharp personality, I burn tiny ashes. I burn tiny witches to ash. You all nickname my flowers neon butterflies because they illuminate a gorgeous night. You all shake, dressed like old raffled beggars. I add silly fat ants into a pot, break all bounds subsequent to baking dense salt bread. Perhaps we will roast my ants, spill the muddy truth in my vacant home. You feel sorry for doves. Perhaps I will fall over the edge or slide silently into a dense orgy. Perhaps an ancient remedy. To panther, to a small house cat, to sand, to dust, to water, to metal, the flesh, chalk, the chalk, the crouch, top secret, phallus, fantasia, relaxed pain, is said to walk through bedroom walls, to Gary, to monkey shine, to Brazil, to water, to combustion. The prodigal bulge overwhelms. It is a bubblegum king, a sheik's interloper, a radical since 1979, a brujo, a Tommy gun, a werewolf, a kudos-derived crotch screaming at his maharashi. This crotch is a roller coaster. It radiates besides Pavarotti. It makes uncouth melody kneel about in Netherlands. It is a holistic crotch with dynamic roundabouts. A sleight of the hand, a nip, a tug, a tuck. The bulb, a cheese menagerie. To Peter, to Pinga, to muscle fingering gestures. This crotch has had a speculative center even in black and magnetic red rags. Its tantrum is a Ferris wheel. This crotch has radar, fancies the shattering of glass bottles, serenades to black supermodels and Playboy Jerry curls. It plods the gravel, bleeds to molten spill. It is a riveted masquerader, military jacket adorner. This machinery long patented since boyhood, chitlin boners. A conveniently omitted crotch so weighed down the bulge was never appraised. Just burrowed into a world parable. Never fashioned into a plaything priced at $12. Its head is engorged. Polished scrotum taunts. Its bad boy innuendos become encrusted with conflicts-free Swarovskis. No one heard the howls from its flaccid state, leveling the sky so it awoke the dead and demanded petitions. Were the gods that crazed to create such a sensationalized crotch? Did the universe ever welcome this quiver shiver? Pride giving crotch prize. This was a charitable crotch. Roots. The naive rotting crotch makes roots. This was a charitable crotch. The skin flesh to make skeletons throb, to make royalties roll and dribble during nocturnal emission, to Moonwalker, to Fred Astaire, to James, to a yard made from two nervous bodies, to become a pelvic jolt clad in leather and metallic cod straps. Thrust, 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 thrust. Thrust, thud, calculate a jackhammer, a bolt fixed in the camera lens. The crotch wanted to be a deity, but later auctioned off tatty penny loafers to collapse and mince the dirt now. It is a crotch that once directed winds, resurrected elephants, free dolphins, to become Dracula, to become a crooner, to become a wall. The crotch no longer desires to spin gold thread, something it now admits is foolish to replicate. Krill lassie. And that shouldn't have any effect on it. A squid eating dough in a polyethanol bag is fast and bulbous. Got me? Et rusha. Curdle, parentheses and parentheses, dip. Batito it like a JPEG. You thicken like chunky. I am without a bubble. Dear TechServe, apparently all has gone to the magic garden. My heliophiles were singed when I accidentally used the wrong AC adapter. Could my sea monkeys ever be retrieved again? Does my warranty cover this? It looks like you're writing a letter. Would you like help? As serious as a hiccup. From LimeWire, I download my wonder years. You cite my prego, my echo sounder, my sazon. I should have been a pop star, you said. I know I should have. I would have had a bubble by then. Dear subscriber, despite failed attempts to collect unpaid balances, we have no other choice but to cancel your subscription to the Jacques Cousteau Quarterly. Please find enclosed a self-addressed stamp envelope to return the sea monkeys and echo sounder. If we do not receive a payment within 30 days, we, Mousecameers, will have no choice but to report you to our collection agency. Leeks, parentheses, and parentheses, potatoes. Miso, parentheses, and parentheses, tofu. Mac, parentheses, and parentheses, Velveeta. I thought we were a biotope together. So, a little backstory. Mr. Popo. Dragon Balls. Jinx. Pokemon. Nobody knows Dragon Balls are Pokemon? Yeah. Oh, I'm like, wow. I'm like, it's like, is it really that long ago? And it's like, wow, okay. I mean, Game of Thrones and they've all, wow, okay. So this is a conversation between Mr. Popo in the tradition of UTFO and Roxanne, and the real Roxanne and Roxanne Shante. Mr. Popo wants to get down. So Mr. Popo hollers at Jinx. Mr. Popo, Viz, in 2004, Viz began to downsize Mr. Popo's large lips digitally. Mr. Popo, in the order of genies to proceed from blue back to purple to pink, there was nothing less visible than this red tire poised to smile. Lips disputed, disappearing, reappearing. Mr. Popo adjusted his turban of starch white. Mr. Popo was determined to prevent Cammy from tapping Jinx's ass before him. Mr. Popo said, "Oh, bodacious Zarpiet, how does the butterfly garden thrive on my big old kettle belly? An extra scoot, never too robust for my flying carpet. So, crone, holla at me, Jinx, holla at me, Jinx, holla at me, Jinx, with some soba on the side. Let's fly away. Mr. Popo want that corn husky hair. Mr. Popo want that hibiscus round your neck. Mount me with your mammy tie-dye kimonos. Go-go ganguru manga mamacita izita madizza. Blessed be your bleached pastel purikurai kitai so that we both know. You're tan from Shibuya, right? Now is your Booty Valley honey or Janet Jackson? Is you is that face of flattery or kuragari, or is you is my dark exception? Darky gal, where'd you get that cup size? Ain't no Koreans up in here that buoyant. Who's your smoochum daddy? Mr. Popo want Pikachu heated. Trust Sangaku can't land a punch. Mr. Popo can be your primitive ashtray. That's right, Jubilee, wind your hips. Shake it like a hoochie. Mounce it, Yamaba Chibi. Dazzle your wog eyes. Wave the Mickey gloves. My Dragon Balls swing low for you proper. You give Mr. Popo nosebleeds. So, Mr. Popo and Jinx hook up. And, Jinx ain't feeling him. So Jinx needs to respond. Who you calling a Jinx? What you wearing on your head? What's that shit on your head? Good Lord, you make my eyeliner sweat. Pika twins. Peep this joint. I ain't feeling your vibe, easy breezy. No shun gun coming from your tongue, Mr. Popo, Mr. Tom. You queasy. Where's your flying rug, homie? Yama Uber board, my agent's gonna reward nada. I shuffleboard smooches in the land of the rising sun. Cosplay, Papa, son. Regula coming straight on your stereo. Popa, why you tripping like I'm a no-go? Popa, you a hella strange Yu-Gi-Oh! What your ma said about a Zarpiet, I'll Tilburg to Finland all over her Miffy. Your butterfly gardener, I'll make you choke on a Ricola. What the fuck did they do to your lips? What they do to your lips? Turban, hammer, slacks, wearing pansy. Get back to Aladdin's bottle. I battle laughable cannibals. I induce sleep with my memories. Kiss attack, you feel me? Kite, Mr. Popo, I'm a thriller. Rosy flappers for lips, the most obscene fish queen you ever seen. Don't super flat map my color. I'm your yokai niglet sipping lovely with black purple flesh, supposedly offensive, make no difference in variation. Check it, cross-pollination. Watashi wa zashu, mass circulation. Coco Jin wanna mock me, I got your kawaii kitties. Popo, here's your black mammy, molten platinum crowd pleaser, destroying daisy cutters like Legend of the Overfiend skeezers. I'm causing adolescent seizures with my Kage gamma rays. Hirojima in my pocket. Epileptics, I dare you to rock it. Muteki Dianetics, you can't handle it. Haterade bitches mock my February spin. My animated fade any naughty smacking gaijin son. Where's your brain damage coming from? Why Chris Kringle got an ocean liner north of the equator, cookies and cream soap lamb, souvenir, I polish it with my Wamano, Brazils, you can't handle it. I'm the master puppeteer, my Gaiju dynasty, and you want to ride me in your tugboat? What you know about my ice flight? Wiggle till you figure how to juku thoughts. Don't front. You know I got you open. I swing my chariots low for a reason, son. So, Jinx wasn't very happy with him. And, he went back to, Dragon Ball's land. And that was basically the situation. And I wish him well. Maybe he'll find somebody. But it's not like that all the time. Pistology. Yo Rokunan transmitter di cielo. Blessed visor de imagine, captured Hoshano of Hikari. Dotekina kinescope globalizing sounds, unit modulation. Oh, fallacious Shizukeza. Fuck you, no Miyasaku. Fuck you, no Miyasaku. Fuck you, no Miyasaku. Anata wa absorb my peripherals, contrasting in medio real-time Buffy la manta de vampiro. Azucarado reflection of stale technologia. Suteru realism, my Gabriel blowhome je propaganda. Fuck you, no Miyasaku. Fuck you, no Miyasaku. Fuck you, no Miyasaku. That's actually a Japanese word. Mediator of media, grocery bag stuffer of life's marketed indulgences. Yo rezo para ti, mi amplify padre, mi primetime ocasión.
Wataku no closed caption Espiritu Santo. By broadcast, you are my Sagrada Comunión. You are my Antichrist. Self-explanatory, right? Okay. Oh, the wonderful world. Ka, 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 ka. Ba. Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Trail mix. However, any action in which a man ejaculates or otherwise deposits semen anywhere but in a woman's vagina shall be interpreted and construed as an action against an unborn child. State Senator Constance Johnson of Oklahoma on the Every Sperm is Sacred Amendment to Personhood Bill. They're all fruit. State Senator Nina Turner of Ohio on the Viagra bill. Tilth is a womb. Craven is the banana lost at sea. And each Jesus like all heathens do. Wasted corn kernels, the shame. It's what's spilt, not life. Into the spume, semen dies, all alive waiting. All normal, dead, abnormal, waiting. About 400 million each jack. Stumpy dates. Copious eggplants lacking the guidance of anal governments. Anal. American sperm needs our love. There's a crisis, and the strapping Norths is winning. And Tai Long seed is more exotic than Brownsville. Peanuts, making, double penetration, pop on ghetto tube. Globules of little tails sure to be tarnished. Fertile lubes, Viagra, turkey-based to fatalities. We cherish our melon bus boys and mulberry janitors. Look towards Brazil for a sign. Passion fruit shaped like a man's sex. Outlaw the neglect of apples. Outlaw the abuse of pumpkins. Against, not for, the test tubes. God gets quite irate over dried up grapes. Man, sperm daggers bound for banks. Drunk fruit flies crave, bemoan sexual healing from hand or mouth. Seamen think little of the nation's health. Seamen think little of the nation's health. And they swim away. Oh, good Lord. How y'all doing? Okay. I'm doing okay. I'm like extremely nervous. Thank you. Thank you. Damn right it's better than yours. Who's clapping? Okay, all right. It's like, okay. This is another one. No, no. No, no, no. You don't love me, and I know now. No, no, no. You don't love me, and I know now. No, no, no. No, 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 no. You don't love me, and I know now. No. She getting taught, him getting schooled. Frosted dips, foam is zook. Drown them clouds in Kikongo Dalap. Brother tell a rider, holla at your father, you and your caddy. Ricochet feed you, Barrington. The seagulls crack clam shells. Sailors bikini stuffing swelled snails. The navy yard smells chinky, cause them drown them clouds in Kikongo Dalop. Shante you stay. Them yard fowl serve, swimming Kaiso Hotel Drive, milk them lick mouth. Holiday din acidified. Technique drop Kikongo Dala, block up. Erodi, pentameter, blocka. Saddles, sachet, freaky lick, milk them, Hotel Drive, Mumbai, down a dime. True that, father. Charge them clouds, Shante your thesis, walk tick, short tongue, squint when your milkshake, drown them clouds, charge them clouds, drown them clouds, charge them clouds, drown them clouds, charge them clouds, drown them clouds, charge them clouds. Seagulls on crack. Blocka. Benihana. Appear, Benihana, appear. There he is. She wishes Rocky usara cookbooks. Room mamoe, Bedouin, cuisine. Niho, nitro libido, sumarai, diced and sliced. Sweet and sour calypso in a hote tiki mug. Baby girl knows he's burned the rice. She wishes Rocky a rave K at Che Fang's Boogaloo. Uru. Enter the bingy harps played by Duke Lukela. She wishes Rocky tossed oriental shrimp y huevos in a hot tub. Cora, over there, Kono Kalakao is manning the grill. His backgammon trophy awaits him in heaven. An afterlife supply of Jerry curl kits. Sake teeny on the house. A rave in his name and virtuous timber She mantras come now, no more faking blackouts. Japanese custom, Rocky's poly. Kona, ver, ka takaronyan, tamariki, ki, waho, with jinsu knives, the children will play outside. Jinho Kelly is attending to them. She wishes Rocky musique de zombie, a day with sizzler and a hot air balloon, a Hummer converted ice cream truck, Tetai, the color of Kikorangi blue, a collage of sugar cones and Strawberry Road on DVD. His wrestling pecs in high res. He did not patent the fortune cookie, but Pequeño Manu, no strife from Bobo's down Lenox Avenue, Purnima, night of full moon, night of Ovalian lineage. Someone did not read the Omwi Kumji. She wishes Rocky and Odu Kashmiri Damgosh. Pepper steak hair wear, Mua in front of heroes and foes. Kone, here. She wishes Rock Moe, sleep. Passage and not an abebu adekai, fashioned like his timbayanke, but his speedboat severing Bullwinkle's spleen. Somewhere in Iceland, she wishes Rocky, Juk, and Wonder Bras abundant. 2 centerfolds for the price of 1. A rave in his name, a place where he eats his celestial Tsujiria Simbai. Uro. Enter again the Bingi harps played by Duke Lukela. He's finally escaped the blacks and the Jews. Silence. Yeah, I just said, let's just go on and skip, do the right thing, and get to the people that we truly know. Marmoto Monak's Misrahi feeds Chichi Mugler at the latex ball. Call the child legendary. 10s across the board for plump agrarian fierceness. Marmoto Monak's Misrahi served for realness for decades. It was never about how she bought it. She was born with it. No one thought she could battle the twisters, thought she had retired to a burrow somewhere, but her arabesque they gagged and lived for. Her dip control gracefulness said it all. Shablam, that's how you eat it. I am in charge of the girls. Don't mind the stubby tray. It's not for you. The daughters thought they turned out the skirt with youth and long, angular limbs, linear, rigid action given to geometrics and dramatics, something young knees could withstand, but this bitch. The undeniable overness of Monada McNack's Misrahi duck walk sealed it. Her exhibition punishing, her attack position, cougar cunt realness, reinvention, lowland, vegan butch. The children were not ready. Twisters 8. Marmoto Monek's Misrahi broke it down, spun whirlwinds around cunts bypassing inflamed endorsements. Short limbs with symmetry saying, let me get my life back. packaged in Timberland, white tube socks, black latex hot pants. Marmoto Monek's Mizrahi tutted her wrists. She refused to be chopped. Spins, catwalk, duck walk, dips, duck walks, lollies, spin. The marmoto could not be denied. Work! Work, you woodchuck butch! The crowd screamed. 10 crowns of tens, the trophy placed in her claws. With her final bow, I love you all for loving me. So have I bored y'all enough? No? You sure? Bring it. Bring it. Good Lord. I know what I'm going to do. We're going to skip. You're like, no. So I usually do this. I like to do this because I get bored of myself. So, and I work occasionally with this ensemble called Burnt Sugar that is based on Butch Morris's theory of conduction, which is about a system of hand gestures that inform the musicians they direct the musicians in improvisation. So it's a method of directing improvisation, conducting improvisation. So where are you going? Come down here. Yes. And they run. They're like, get up, get up, get up, get up. Okay, so, yeah, stand right here. Hi. Hi, I like your dress. I like your goth. Right? So I'm going to show them, and basically you're going to follow what they do, right? So very quickly, make believe this is a baton. Whenever the baton goes down, that is the downbeat. So the thing is, the signal is downbeat. So whenever I instruct you on this, you make a sound. You make any type of sound. Don't go for the most cliche-ish sound, which is ah, right? Don't do that. That's what we normally do all the time. But you can make any type of sound you want. You can make shh. You could go ah. You could go. You know, the thing is, you have this. You have this. You have this. You have this. You can make sounds. You don't have to go to the ah. Okay, right? So if I looked at you and I said, basically, I'm signaling you to get ready. On the downbeat, you go, oh. Okay, right? And if I looked at you, I went, why? Right? And that is a sound, right? So now this symbol is for repeating or looping. So let's say I liked what you did, right? So I go, oh, oh, oh. And you keep on going. Oh, oh, mm-hmm. Oh. Oh, oh, oh. I haven't told you to stop. No. You have to keep going. Oh, why? I haven't signaled you yet. Oh, 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 why? Oh, oh, why? Oh, why? Oh. And everybody knows the universal sound for shut up, right? Which is... But you didn't let me do the sign first. So let's do it again. And I didn't tell you. So you got to keep going. Right? So. Why? Why? Oh. Oh. Why? Oh. Why? Oh. Why? Why? All right. Now, this symbol means that you are to project. Right? So if I look at you and I go, oh. 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 Oh, oh, oh. Right. So
loud public orgasm.
So, you know, and if I looked at you and I went, why?
You have get louder, Parker. Why? 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 Why?
It's still in the back of your neck. Project it.
Why? Why?
Right? So y'all pretty much got the nutshell, right? So downbeat is this, right? This, what I'm doing, means to sustain, right? So if I told you to sustain the sound, obviously Y or O might be a little tricky to sustain, right? So you got to come up, you got to use your noodle to come up with a sound. But you have to come up with it quickly because you don't have any time to think when it comes down to improvisation.
Oh.
Right? And especially if I am basically directing you to make the sound, you got to come up with it lickety split, right? So if I looked at you and I went,
Za.
but that means to sustain the sound.
Za. Za.
So the trick to sustaining a sound is figuring out which sound you can actually sustain, right? You got to look at me because I'm not. Okay, so sit back down.
We have to go.
Okay, bye. Chirp. Bom dia. Bom dia. A moment to shush with clock radio. A moment to coo and flounder the last scene. Fuera de mí. This haunch misses you. The scalp has neglected since. Everyone wants love. Not many get it. Get out. Go somewhere. Go on. This haunch remembers everything. The scalp admits something. I found a worm. You found your fill. I literally found a bulate on concrete in the sun in a puddle of rain, drowning and frying. Magagandambi. As if you'll be there to say good morning. As if as if another worm could be found with you. As if you love me. Tu. Another clock radio. Another dream. A new word, same meaning. Good morning. Quiérame. Nakito akong kokoro. Bon noche. Fuera. Like you said, all the rest is noise. I heard that good old. Okay, slay me. Go for it.
At what point did you start using
Wait. Sorry.
Sorry.
Can you stand up so everybody can see you? Thanks.
At what point did you start using the electronic equipment into your poetry? Sorry.
She figured it out. No, she needs to use her mic.
Well, why not?
Actually, hold up here.
This one is actually louder because it's just better equipped for who's making the vocals. So yes, but I started using electronics.
There we go.
Yes. I started using electronics in 1997 from working with musicians. Yeah, just you kind of feel lonely when you're working with musicians. You're like, you don't have anything to strum or punch or pluck or beat. You're like, okay, well, yeah. Thank you.
So we try to alternate sides. I don't know where the other mic is.
Yes.
So let her go first.
yeah,
and
of
you
course.
go. Yeah,
Thank
you can
you.
hold it. Thanks.
How many languages do you speak?
So she can see you. Okay.
I speak 0 languages, even English. I'm familiar with English and Spanish and Japanese and Quechua and Maori and Hawaiian and Samoan and Chalagi, which is Cherokee, and some Yoruba and Papiamentu, which is a great language. And Tagalog, and familiar with, yeah.
Yo. Hey. Do you have a favorite anime? Favorite anime?
Yeah. I have to say my favorite anime was a slew of hardcore anime back in the 90s. So Akira, of course, classic. Then Vampire Hunter D, and all of the Legend of the Overfiends, as violent as they were. You know, I would be much older to understand how wrong they were. I think I did know. I did need to go to school to understand what was wrong with them. It was like, oh, that's so horrible. objectification of women, rape. That's so fucked up. It took college for me to understand that. I have to say. So that's the beauty of education.
Okay. What you did today was so dynamic and so just hard to describe. Just hard to wrap my head around. But I'm wondering, how do you get all of this onto the page? Like if I were to get a book, how do I take this experience and translate to the page?
15 years of what am I doing?
Yeah. Sorry.
It's really, I don't look at the book as, well, here's my conceptual project that I conceived within a year. It really, when I say 15 years, it's really like 15 years of dabbling in this and dabbling in that and trying to figure out what am I doing, and then not entirely accepting one particular genre to sit in or not be comfortable in, either because I'm just not very good at it. Like, we could say that. And so by not being particularly good at it, sometimes I just leave it alone and investigate something else. But I think it's been this circular thing that's been happening, particularly with my artistic career, being in one field and then all of a sudden being accidentally placed into another situation that allows me to think about other things or be challenged by the environment. So how it got to paper, editor. editor, a wonderful, wonderful relationship with Belladonna. They truly work as, I feel that the book I wrote it, obviously, but the manifestation of the book itself was a true collaboration. It was a true collaboration, and I was very grateful and very blessed to have an editor to work with me.
Thank you very much for that. But I wanted to ask, I noticed in the little brochure that they passed out that you talked about thinking about poetry as art. And this is something I try to tell my students a lot, like, you're art students, you're not just writers. And I wondered how that might relate to thinking about language as material object or texture, and having density and layers. I don't know if that's a question, but I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was funny because I immediately thought of so many visual artists who are, quite well known as visual artists who work all the time with text, with words, like Glenn Ligon, with, even Ed Ruscha. There's a ton of visual artists who work with text, Kara Walker, and to look at these artists as examples or possibilities for writers to, like, your work can go into these places, to think of it as just as visually as you would when you're thinking about how it is being read on the piece of paper. I think that would be one way of telling your students that, but I totally agree with you.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna just go. So I just wanted to say that, first of all, the energy that you brought into the space, like, it's such a blessing. And for me, to see a reflection upon the stage of that, like, mirrors me in a way, beyond just the physical, but also, like, I was like, oh my gosh, she's weird too, and being a weird artist and experimental. And I came in here really not knowing what what I was going to be presented with. And I'm just really, really thankful, again, on the artistic level, on the weird level, on the fro level, on the like diaspora level. So I just wanted to say ashe.
Thank you.
And then another thing was, maybe I missed it in the publication, but is your book going to be for sale?
Yes, it's outside on
Okay.
the table. Yeah.
And could I get some love in my book if I buy it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So thank you. So thank you very much for what you brought tonight to Minneapolis.
That was beautiful. So, is it?
She's behind you.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
behind you.
No, go ahead. It's her turn.
Oh.
Okay. So this kind of ties into what other people asked, but I was curious, like how sound informs your meaning, like in the way that if it's the same as words, because like when you use the other languages, you know, like for someone who doesn't like speak those languages, it was like what I was interpreting it somewhat as the sounds, like as the, sort of the music and the sounds that you were making, because it didn't have the same sort of, it didn't relay meaning to me in the way that the English language did. And I wondered, like, when you write it, or maybe what you intend to be interpreted, like how it relates to each other, if that makes sense at all. Like sort of, so like when if you were speaking Japanese, like I couldn't identify what language you were speaking when you were speaking them, but let's say you were using the Japanese, and to me it's just sound. Like I kind of identify it as a language, but it's just sound. It almost comes off as music, like it sounds beautiful, but it doesn't relay meaning the way when you spoke the English words it did. And so I guess when you use the different languages, like what's your relationship with that when you're like relaying meaning, if that makes sense? Sorry if that's just confusing.
Yeah, no. Well, I believe there's a couple of things that within the book I'm looking at. I'm looking at sound, of course. So in some poems, there is the emphasis of the sound of the language over the meaning of the literal meaning of those words. It's more of a fascination with the sound of the language, and I guess a quick question to you would be: have we ever had a favorite song that we listen to, that we may listen to on repeat for 3 hours straight, that is, let's say, Brazilian, like Caetano Veloso, or Jorge Ben, these songs where you're just like, oh God, I love this song. I have no fucking idea what he's saying, right? But the way he sings it, and the sound and the texture and the flavor of this song, we relate to because of the sound, right? And we just allow to enjoy ourselves in the sound rather than be too concerned with the actual, translation. I mean, I have a favorite Jorge Ben song, which me and my brother, we thought was the most spiritual song. We thought it was revolution. We thought it was like, yeah, and it was like turned out to be about soccer. We were like, what? It was just like he's basically saying, throw the ball, kick the ball. We thought it was, it was just like, so I mean that's the question I throw at you. The other part of the book, so there's the sound and the enjoying the sound of the language. Then there's the other aspect of the book that looks at words or phrases in particular languages and riffing off the definition, what may be the definition. Maybe the definition, because somebody says this is the definition in this book. But collecting a good number of Lonely Planet phrase books, and then say, hey, I know this word to somebody who actually speaks the language, and like, that's incorrect. So but accepting the fact that even in a book that is supposed to be legitimately the definition, it may not be the correct definition, that things will be mistranslated or misread. So there's that aspect of some of the languages that I'm using to reread, retranslate, mistranslate, misread, and then create either a narrative or a soundscape. Then there is the challenge of being confronted with multiple languages. I think that most of us are hindered by sounding out a word in another language, or accepting that we may not necessarily understand that language because we are taught that we communicate in English, and but there's a muscularity to multiple languages, different languages, that is also really similar to dancing, right? Similar to the body. And that if we look at the various textures of languages, we find that there's a lingua franca within all of them that involves the body, that involves movement. I'm babbling here. But also the argument too is like, do I really want to communicate all the time in English? Why do you want me to communicate all the time in English? Who said this was my native tongue? And what exactly is my native tongue? If I am an immigrant, but an immigrant with a very complicated history, an immigrant who is not aware of what language they might have spoke, or how many languages they might have spoken, and that it's playing with all of those things. Of course, it's playing with different patois and vernaculars and pidgins, which also have a history itself. But it's saying, come, come, I guess I would be like, come dance with me for a moment. Come, just don't bother with understanding. Just come dance with me, and then when you're in your room with the book, dance by yourself. Dancing by yourself is so fun. You could do all kind of obnoxious, rude things by yourself, because nobody is in there to watch you, You can experiment, you can be butt naked, doesn't matter, so yeah.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say I loved everything you did tonight. And as a poet, I just found it very inspiring to see this kind of fresh edge on a poetry performance and reading. But anyway, my question is for you is when you're doing your readings, do you feel like for each poem you have this kind of voice, tone, inflection, kind of, with the poem each time that's kind of ingrained in you from its conception? Or do you feel like the readings, like sometimes those tones and voices change, inflections, kind of spacing and all that?
I think some of them definitely. I think with other ones, it depends on the mood. And I think with the majority of the pieces that I read, I mean, it's clearly like, yeah, there's my faux pas Caribbean accent. I'm not going to say it's Jamaican or Trini or Barbadian. It's somewhere in the Caribbean. but I want to invoke it because the poem is written in that way. And Border Universe is probably the only poem that I read publicly that I will actually give you the translation. Most of the poems that are written in different languages, I don't care to give anybody the translation. I just want you to live there for a second. But that one I feel obliged to because there's something of an incantation happening with that poem. One more question.
Hi.
Una pregunta.
How you doing?
Is it una or un?
Un
Una.
Frage?
Una pregunta because it's feminine, right? That's right.
So, you talk a lot about how your work is like a song. Like you want people to kind of be involved in it, dance to it, whether
It's a variety show.
Yeah, well, it is. It certainly is. I mean, there's a visual, there's an oral, there's even your presence on stage. But why would you ever consider dropping an album of some sort? You know, like to have this be an oral experience. You know, where you can actually dance to it and listen.
Is part of your question why wasn't there a CD accompanying the book?
No. Well, why aren't? Yeah. Why not? I'd love a CD.
I have worked. In 2002, I actually released a CD, which was a conceptual project that had to do with television, looking at television as the invisible family member, but not so much invisible. It's very visible, but you tend to have more conversations with your television set than your sibling or your mother, and so that was that project. And there's been quite a deal of personal contemplation about doing another CD, which I would like to do. I did not want to do it with this. I wanted it to be this activity that would encourage you, invite you, maybe anger you to have to sound out these poems by yourself in that bedroom, and I also did not want to do a CD because I felt that was too obvious because of my resume. Really, I felt that was way too obvious, given my resume, given what I've done with musicians, with other recording artists, with dancers. I was like, no, I want to have a book to exist as a book, and let's hang with that. Yeah. You dig it? Dig it?